Welcome to Horror Movies with TNA. Each episode, we're going to pick a film, talk about it, and rate it. Word of warning, there will be spoilers. This week, we're talking about
The Gate. Tibor Takacs, I love that name, brings us this quintessential 80s horror movie that delivers all the Ds. Demons, dodgy dialogue, and dead dog. Join us as we walk through The Gate.
He's driving round the town with a dead dog in his car. Yeah, sure. It might work, it might not. Who knows? I'm kind of like a sound engineer. I don't know. Who knows? Well, I mean, I do wonder whether that should have all been done before we went live.
I just pretended to be a normal person.
That must have really a struggle.
It really was a stretch. Yeah. Maybe that podcast. Oh, I keep doing that. Oh, no, maybe the podcast should be about, well, the best way to work, according to Tony and Adam.
I thought we were going to call it Take Your Job and Shove It. Thought that was the idea for that podcast.
No, work mode.
Well, all you need
is love.
Listen, I wrote this at the top before. All you need is a geode, a fake album by a satanic rock band, and a blood sacrifice, and you can have a pretty good party. And I think that's the tagline for the film, really.
Yeah. So should we say what the fuck it is?
The film we're talking about today is The Gate from 1987, directed by Tibor Takacs.
I did read Tibor Takacs, but there's so much to it. He's directed fucking loads.
I noticed he'd done a lot of kind of disaster films and quite a few.
Yeah, a bit like that three-headed shark kind of.
Yeah, well, the spider. I thought Spiders was one that looked interesting. I watched the trailer on that. That looked like a kind of, it looked like Lava Ants or Sharknado.
And he did the sequel. Did he do the sequel to this?
Yeah, I didn't do that much research.
Oh, come on, Ghost.
For the other actors in the film, they're all reasonably good. Obviously, Stephen Dorff's the most well-known one. Everybody else, I didn't write a single thing about, if I'm honest. I found very little information in terms of other stuff they've been in, so...
To be honest, I don't think the rest of them, other than Mr. Dorfiness,
moved on to that much else.
No. So, The Gate.
The Gate from 1987.
Got Steve Dorff playing Glenn.
Couldn't find out what his surname was, though, so it's just Glenn. I sometimes like to give the family name.
Louis or Lewis, the strawberry blonde idiot. Terry, the one with the denim jacket.
Terry was played by Lewis Tripp.
And then there's Angus the dog. I don't know. I didn't look who played Angus.
He played himself. And then Krista Denton as Alexandra, or Al, his sister, in the film.
Yeah, Alexandra. I mean, she did say somewhere in it, you can call me Al.
You can call me Al.
Anyway.
Yeah, the parents, I don't know who played them, but they're only in it briefly before they go off on a 3-day trip.
The parents appear later on in the film in a really ace bit.
Let me set the scene at the beginning.
I'm going to interject as usual, by the way.
Absolutely. You're quite welcome to. But don't interrupt the opening scene. Let me set the scene.
Well, that's what I'm going to interrupt.
A suburban street. A boy, Glenn, on his BMX bike, rides up to his house and jumps off and wanders up to the house. Neat badges on his jacket, rocket ships. He looks cool.
I thought you said neat badges.
Neat badges.
He's got like little badges.
He's got neat patches on his jacket, rocket ships. He calls out for his mum and dad. Nobody answers. He calls out for Ali's sister. Nobody answers. He hears some...
I want to interject now, because he goes... It's an empty house, isn't it? And he goes into the kitchen.
Well, I haven't gone to that bit yet. I ain't even got to the kitchen yet.
Well, when you get to the kitchen, I'll just leave a gap for me.
This is what I'm saying. Tiny... Right, he calls out for mum and dad and Al. Nobody answers. But he hears some sinister giggling coming from upstairs. He goes upstairs, knocks on his sister's room. He still finds nobody. He then then music starts playing by Eva Everything, the song No Pleasure. It goes a little bit like this. I've seen you laugh, asleep or awake. You are in danger, but I'll be safe. No pleasure.
Go like this.
He wanders back downstairs following the music. On the TV, the movie shows a hooded figure reaching into his hood and popping his eyes out and offering them up to the viewer. Then Glenn hears a distorted voice in the kitchen. He wanders in, interject.
We've got brown sauce on the table. HP.
I noticed that, and he hadn't put the lid back on. They hadn't put the lid back on.
No, well, what's worse, isn't it, when they just rest the lid and then you shake it up and it goes fucking everywhere, like I said.
I wish I could. I've put no one's in the kitchen, half-eaten meal, lid off, brown sauce. I actually wrote.
Well, it's I didn't know they did. Well, obviously they do. I didn't know they did brown sauce. I know HP do sauce in the US today.
Yes. Okay. Of course, Brown Sauce was also an 80s pop band with Mike Reid and Maggie Philbin.
Wasn't it?
I also wrote, at that point, Glenn's back door opens, wind is blowing.
Brown sauce.
It's kind of backlit, isn't it? There's a lot of backlit. There's a lot of
It's the most 80s film I think I've seen for quite a while.
Yeah, I loved it. It's lit like a Bonnie Tyler video. It's all kind of smoke and lighting. He wanders into the backyard and climbs up into his tree house, and then there's lightning that it cracks and strikes the tree house.
Yeah, I did quite a good effect. That was. Yeah, it made me think that's an actual tree, not a model.
Yeah, if you look.
I mean,
yeah.
I actually thought, given that they've got no money and there was no CGI, I was thinking, how did they do that?
Yeah, we'll get to some of that later on because I thought exactly the same. Some of the effects are pretty effective.
No, but yeah, I think some of them are better than what you see nowadays.
Lightning strikes the tree, and at that point, Glenn wakes up because it was all a dream. All of that first 5 minutes was a dream.
Yeah, quite a good starter. And the beginning where he's going down with his bike and that did remind me a little bit of Poltergeist, which I think, and this came out around about the same time, and it's obvious that he's trying to sort of nick some of those vibes for this.
Yeah, I can see that.
What I will say is, whatever it was, PG-13 or whatever it was in those days, 15, I think it was. I'm surprised. Well, no, maybe not 15, but I wouldn't have said it was a. Well,
I'll go over this later on.
I was surprised by it.
I thought it was like Goosebumps.
Well, I'll remind you of a couple of bits.
No. There were some bits that challenged my Goosebumps theory. There was definitely little bits, but in general, look, listen. Wakes up, looks out the window. There's workmen. How many workmen it takes to knock a fucking tree down, God only knows, but there's some workmen, digger, everybody's in the back garden, chopping this tree down and removing it.
I'm not sure why they're chopping the tree down, because we had a tree in the back garden. This is interesting. And because it was quite near the house, you've got to be careful of the roots, haven't you?
I've got a theory about this. The parents have decided to get rid of the tree. I get that. Could be for a whole variety of reasons. They might be putting a swimming pool in the backyard. You don't know. But then obviously Glenn...
Why they filled the hole in?
Well, look, I'll fill you in. Then Glenn, because that's his childhood tree where he had his tree house, he's traumatised. That's why he's had a bit of a nightmare about the tree that night. Do you see what I mean? It's traumatised him. See, it's all explained, isn't it? Right. He looks down, they're removing the tree.
It's a premonition of what's to come.
Well, exactly. Obviously, when they remove the tree, the hole that's been left by the roots of the tree reveals a geode. To be honest, I didn't know. I should have probably known this. I didn't know that that's what they were called. A thunder egg, they called it, or a geode. This is a lot of information. Is that true?
Well, it's a geocrystal, geode. And then, because of that particular type, I thought it's called an amethyst or something like that.
That's probably what you call the crystallized structure that's within the geode.
Oh.
All right. But that's most of this information's coming from Glenn's friend Terry, who were then introduced that following day too, because he's telling Glenn about how much these geodes are worth if you find a good one.
Yeah.
And they've already found one revealed in the hole from underneath the tree.
His speckled strawberry blonde mate who wears a denim gilet.
Yes, I like Terry. He seems like, because he comes from a one-parent family, he seems a little bit like a loose cannon. I did say as well, he was sporting a jacket which had a Venom patch on its back, framed by studs, and he was also rocking a He-Man T-shirt as well. So he'd got a good look going on, I thought. I liked him.
I might wear that to work.
Yes, yeah.
Having said that, I wore a Flintstones T-shirt once to Alton Towers.
What, with work?
No, yeah.
They start digging around in this hole looking for any more geodes on the Rob. Oh, and Glenn gets a splinter in his hand at that point and it starts bleeding. I thought that was one of the worst bits. He got a big sharp splinter in his hand. Did you recall that bit? Oh,
no,
yeah.
I did not.
Traumatic.
I was just thinking why they're digging the fucking hole.
Oh, and the reason why, he also mentions that later on when Terry says to him, oh, remember that splinter, because it talks about blood sacrifice and blood. And he says, and also your hand bled. So it comes back round.
I did watch it, but I have a feeling maybe I didn't.
This hole's deep, isn't it? They dig down and they start to hear some kind of beastly noises from below.
Oh, yeah, and then Terry nearly loses a leg.
He does nearly lose a leg, and then they pull out a basketball-sized geode, a big one. So it sets it up nicely, doesn't it, eh? Beautiful.
Yeah. I don't like that. At his window.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit where we're introduced to Glenn's sister. Al turns up, and yeah, no, it's completely irrelevant. They just have a bit of a talk with his sister. They kind of have a bit of brother-sister argument and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's mainly to say that the parents are going away and whether the sister can look after him.
Leave them unsupervised, and then moths all fly out of the hole.
They're just a bit like hairy flies.
Hairy flies.
Right. They just seem a bit dirty.
Can I see your dirty butterfly? That doesn't sound right.
Anyway, and then obviously the parents are buggered off. And I mean, there might have been bits in between.
No, I don't think there are. I think basically the dad comes home and says, oi, fill that hole in, because he's not happy with that big hole that the kids have dug. Then they start talking through at dinner how the parents are a bit nervous about leaving Glenn and his sister unsupervised. So there's that whole thing. But then they finally agree. It's just to set it up so that the kids are left in the house for a few days, isn't it? So then they can get up to all these hijinks.
And then it just jumps straight to the most 80s party you'll ever see.
Oh, it's amazing. As soon as the parents have left shouting,
Don't have any parties.
we will then switch to the immediate party that Alexandra or Al has arranged. Yeah, there's lots of banter being thrown around like, he just totaled his car, brutal. That was the only bit I wrote. That was it.
I mean, the best bits are when no one's talking. I wonder whether the director understood the dialogue that was being said.
The party's going on downstairs. Upstairs, the boys continue to try and crack open this geode. Eventually, they do manage to crack it open, and then there's a bit where, I don't know what these are called, but when they crack it open, there's kind of a puff of smoke and stuff. There's a bit where it falls open. And then it's, for some reason, there's been some symbols scrawled in one of those, what do you call them, those magnetic drawing pad things?
It's like almost like an Etch-a-Sketch thing, but it isn't. It's one, I used to have it. It's like grey film, and you'd scribble on it, and then you'd pull the film over, and it would go refresh itself.
Yes. Yeah, there's some symbols and then some writing, and the words are, because I always write these down,
Akakuto ala eta.
are written on the pad. And it continues to go back to the hole, and it shows smoke rising from the hole, and there's moaning coming from the hole as well in the garden. Then we go back to the party, and the party's chilled out now, and they're telling each other scary stories, but we then go on to the subject of levitation.
What a load of shit.
This scene is nonsense. However, let's continue. They try and do some levitation. One of the larger dudes, they try and prove the power of levitation by lifting him. I'm not sure levitation works, that if you can't manage to lift him with levitation, you just get a 12-year-old boy to lift instead, because he's a lot lighter and easier.
Yeah, they grab hold of Glenn, don't they, and say, "Oh, let's try and lift him." It's that one or two finger bit where you're meant to lift them, aren't you? You're light as a feather.
Yes, but actually, by the power of the smoking hole, Glenn starts to float across the room.
Well, yeah, he levitates quite easily, and then he goes straight into the light, and then grabs another light as he's levitating around the ceiling a little bit.
Levitation. So the scene where Glenn's upset because they've flung him across the room, haven't they?
Well, you would do if you start levitating around the room.
I don't understand it. I really don't. That night, the moths are everywhere. Glenn's freaking out about everything. So there's more and more moths as well. He's got some in a jar all the way through the film as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, Terry. Yeah, but I thought also that's going to be pertinent in the end, especially when. Well, I'll say it now because it makes no odds at the end. He gets a jar and throws it out the window, but nothing happens.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be like a big thing where something happened with that. He just chucks a jar out the window. Should point out that Terry's staying over for the night, isn't he, with Glenn? And in the middle of the night, Terry goes to the toilet in the night. Now, we must say, can you just remind me, had Terry's mum... So in the middle of the night, Terry goes wandering to the toilet and he thinks he sees his mum. Now, has his mum left home or has she died? I can't remember what the backstory was.
Maybe she's died. I don't know. I was hoping you'd fill that in because I didn't get that for any backstory at all.
So obviously he's quite emotional because he's seen his mom in the middle of the night. Mom.
Yeah, it's quite a good bit. Well, it's really good bit. It gets better, doesn't it? So yeah, he's at the top of the stairs, isn't he? And she comes through the door looking like Bonnie Tyler because she has got a white dress off and with her arms out and keeps saying "come to me" or whatever.
So he goes and gives her a hug. It's emotional, and he's hugging her for a while.
Yeah,
Oh, actually, I should say, whilst Glenn's so did we say Glenn? Terry, isn't it?
It's Terry that's gone down.
Terry sees his mum and goes down and hugs her for a while. And whilst that's happening, we switch back to Glenn, who is seeing shapes behind the walls bulging and pushing.
Yeah, a bit Freddy Krueger-ish, isn't it?
Oh, no. He shouts, "Oh, no." So he sees some bulging shapes pushing through the wall. So he's having a bit of a nightmare. And also because Terry had told Glenn that there was a workman buried in the walls of the house when it was being built to try and scare him.
Oh, right.
So then he sees the walls bulging and he thinks the workman, which again comes back later on.
You know, I absolutely missed that bit. So that now makes sense, kind of, later on.
So, earlier on, Glenn had said to his dad, I'm having nightmares because Terry's told me there's a workman buried in the walls. And the dad said, don't listen to Terry. He's just a bit upset because his mum went away. And I think that's actually when he tells the story of what happened to Terry with his mum. So there you go. That's it. Sorted.
All in that one thing. I must have found out something.
So
anyway, let's get to the juicy bit.
Well, listen. So essentially, Glenn's freaking out, man, because of the bulges. Terry's still hugging his mum, and it's all nicely backlit again. Like a Bonnie Tyler video. And then Terry realised when he turns, he sees that his mum is the pet dog, Angus.
Yeah, staring back at him with his tongue out. But instead of going, well, you would be shocked, I suppose.
Well, he throws it down on the floor.
But he's dead, isn't it?
Killing it in the process. The sinister thing was, when Terry threw the dog, it already looked lifeless. It hit the floor.
Yes, it is very much a dummy. Now, I did carry on watching the end credits, should I say, and it did say Angus model made by, and I was going to write the name down and I thought, no, that's not fair. But it is fucking terrible. It is a terrible model of a dog. And you see a lot of it, don't you?
It comes back amazingly later on as well. A full face shot, which is great, with its tongue lolling out. Yes, scary stuff over that night, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, drew that.
Dog.
Drew the tongue lolling out.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We can compare because I did as well. Next day.
Oh, mine's terrible.
Terry goes home to his dad's. His dad's away on business. Terry's utterly rocking out, like totally, in his room. and he finds an album by a band called Sacrifice. I did look; it is a real Canadian band.
Oh, is it?
However, I think the album, the Dark Book album, isn't a real album, but the band is real.
That's a shame.
Some of the words in this album,
Because I bet you'd buy it, wouldn't you?
absolutely, it goes without saying. He's looking through it. Yeah, it's quite an extensive kind of satanic book that comes with the album, isn't it? And Terry's also got the Geode, which is borrowed as well, or Nick's, I don't know. He's thumbing through it, and a lot of the information within this album starts to pique his interest.
Have we jumped past the bit where he's rocking out on his bed and reciting the lyric?
But it's more like a recital, wasn't it? It was more like some dark satanic verses.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit. He was, I guess, either it's the best acting I've ever seen or the worst. He was reciting the lyrics, which was a talking bit, but he was doing it almost like 3 seconds behind.
Yeah, he was slightly out of sync, wasn't he? But that's okay.
I did think, well, that's quite good, because that means, yeah, where obviously the script, he would have to. So maybe he was purposely, or either that's the way it got caught, or I'm overthinking.
Yeah, Lewis Tripp's that good. Maybe he was that good. Maybe he is that good. Who knows?
Yeah, no, Mig. No, he ain't.
No, okay.
That's that sorted. Shall we carry on? Anyway, so yeah, the Dark Book album, he's rocking it out. He's reciting the lyrics or the speech bit about a gate. Or...
It does talk about, and in some of the information on this album, it talks about, although I didn't write it down word for word, but it starts talking about what you need to, I don't know, open a gateway to let the demons through. So you need sacrifices, and you need, and he sees pictures that look like a stone, which could be the Geode. So there seems to be a lot of correlation between what's on the album and what's happening in reality.
There's a picture of the levitation, though, was the funniest bit. Did you see that?
Levitation. Yes.
Yeah, it's got like the band members or whatever it's meant to be showing a levitation, and it's like they're all going like, yeah.
Yes, there's a guy with like a curved knife. Yes, I saw it. It looks very dramatic.
Yes, I mean, no, we're not. It's not very visual medium to go on about that, but yeah, if you see the gate.
Oh, check out the band Sacrifice. You may be pleasantly surprised. We go back to Glenn's house, and one of Al's friends has agreed to dispose of Angus's body, because obviously the dog died, didn't he, the night before? So one of the dimwits that hangs around with Al agrees to dispose of Angus. He's driving around with the dog in the passenger seat, which is quite a brilliant bit when it shows it.
Before that, though, this is one of the bits of dialogue that I didn't understand.
Hit me with it.
They're all in the kitchen. I didn't look whether there's brown sauce there yet. But someone says, Glenn, cool out. I think it was Al. Not chill out, not cool down, cool out.
Cool out.
I mean, maybe we make it a new thing.
Cool out.
I even rewound it. I thought I misheard that. Glenn, cool out.
Cool out.
Cool out.
I like that. I'm bringing it back.
Anyway, carry on.
He's driving around the town with a dead dog in his car.
Yeah, we've all done it.
Glenn goes out into the yard and the hole is smoking. That's when he realises that the filled-in hole's now opened up again and there's smoke coming out of it.
Yeah. Demons, isn't it?
And Terry rocks up and actually says, "You've got demons." Oh, and he talks about the album, and he says that after they made the album, they all died in a plane crash. That's the backstory for the band.
Well, it's a bit back for the actual band that exists, isn't it?
Yes. Then Terry starts reading from the album. Gods of darkness, breeders of chaos, come forth and take possession of this vile world. Al's friend couldn't find anywhere to dump the dog, Angus, so he dumps it in the hole and covers it with some fence panelling.
That's what you did.
Although it has got a little gate, it has got a little trapdoor in it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it helps out if you want to get the monsters out or whatever. Another bit of dialogue.
Oh, God.
So when Terry's explaining, Glenn says, Terry, this is a record album.
A record album.
But a record album, yeah, I don't know. It's like it's not first language.
All right. Okay. All right. Cool out. what did he say? Al's friend couldn't find anywhere. Al's friend couldn't find anywhere to dump the dog, so he chucks it in there. They also realised that if you play the album backwards, there's instructions on how to close the gateway or the gate.
Yeah, that's normally when you do anything backwards on an album, it's usually
bad. We love Satan, but this is actually go away, Satan. And yes, so it's very good. Good instructions.
By the way, you don't actually get to see the dog get thrown into a hole, which I was hoping you would see.
It show like from above the dog falling down the hole.
Bouncing off the side.
Yeah.
And there's bits when he's carrying it under his arm when he goes to the door to see if he can get rid of it. You just see the dog's arse and his tail wibbling around, and it just keeps moving it around. I mean, that's the worst effect. In what is quite a good, effects film, whoever did the dead dog,
needs putting down. Terry, Glenn, Al, and the Lee sisters, this is the two girls, are in the house that night. The girls are throwing insults at the boys like, eat your feet, dwarf, suck my nose till my head caves. Then drop dead, then up yours, and then Glenn finishes off with a piss off. And that's it.
Fair enough.
Yes. 45. We're actually halfway through the film now. Everybody's in the house.
Everyone's in the house.
Everybody's in the house.
Everyone's in the house. Everyone's in.
Is that a song? Is that a new song?
It is now.
That'll be by Either Everything, who did the No Pleasure song at the beginning. Everyone's in the house. Everyone's in the house. Cool out. Everyone's in the house.
It's going to be an amazing record album, that is.
Yes. Lots more dirty butterflies at the window.
Yeah, I've written down again, I'm not keen on them busts. Oh, that's it. What I put is hairy flying twat.
The window breaks in, doesn't it? And he's attacked by a plague of superimposed moths, isn't he, Glenn?
Yeah, that effect is, I mean, it's all right.
No, it's adequate.
Yeah.
Glenn's obviously, he's upset and he runs out of the room to tell Al. And when he goes back in the room to check on Terry, they find it's not Terry, but it's Angus it's Angus in a nerve smashing reveal. And let's reveal our pictures.
Everyone in the house, Angus in the bed. Let's have a look.
Oh,
can't see yours.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, Christ, that's awful. And mine looks like a dog, I suppose. Yours just, I mean, there it is.
Well, you just drawn a dog. I did actually try and make it look like Angus.
It's got his tongue out.
Mine looks like the dog from the 1987 film, The Gate. That's brilliant bit with the dog.
To be honest, mine looks like the piano playing dog house, the Muppet.
Yes, it does, yeah. The kids panic and an arm grabs out from under the bed and grabs Al. Some demon arms.
Oh, yeah, it all kicks off now, doesn't it? From about now onwards.
I mean, they've been having kind of constant sleepovers, but this is the sleepover where they're all in the house and it does kick off. They escape and run away, and Glenn runs out of the house to be confronted by his mum and dad. So let's talk about this scene. So they run out the front door, and Glenn and Al's mum and dad have returned, and they're relieved. But it turns out that they're demons, doesn't it?
Yeah, Glenn runs out to him. I thought this was Ace.
Yes, Glenn runs out to hug them, and it turns out that they're demons, and Glenn ends up pushing his dad's... Well, I actually put... Glenn ends up pushing his dad's fucking face in.
Well, before that, I thought it was better, because the face bit, by the way, is good, because he's like all green goop, and it's almost like plastic.
Yeah, it collapses in on itself, doesn't it? Yeah, it collapses in.
Just before that, like, so you do think, oh, they are back in for... Now they're in for it. Judd just goes, "You've been bad," and starts strangling his kid.
Yes.
Which I thought, oh, PG-13, all right then. And then this kid pulls his dad's face off.
And then he pushes his face in and his dad's head falls off. Yeah.
The more disturbing bit is your dad saying, "You've been bad," picking you up by your neck and strangling you, I suppose.
It's an uncomfortable situation to be in. As with every film we talk about, this is the turning point, because this is when all the different characters, that's the Lee sisters and the other three, see for themselves that something's really, really not right. They all see that. Right, so there's various little bits that happen, but essentially, so it's about 50 minutes in that when we're introduced to the little demons. Do the little demons start coming out the hole?
Yeah, I think this.
Yes.
Little demons start coming out the hole.
Yes, it switches to the back garden and they're starting to creep out the little hole. And then the phone rings and they answer the phone and the voice on the phone says, "You've been bad again." And then the phone melts in whoever answers the phone's hand. I can't remember who it is.
Oh, I can't remember.
Actually, and then when the kids are creeping through the house, this was a bit where I thought, actually, this is more like a horror film. Because to be honest, even with the gooey face and all those bits, I still felt like it was a bit of a kid's film. But there was a bit where earlier on in the film, it had shown like a family portrait on the wall, like a family photo. And when they're creeping through the room, they go past that in the kind of dark.
Oh, they're going to the basement to get something, aren't they? To get the album.
Yeah. And when they look at it in the dark, all the family are covered in blood.
Yeah, murdered, but sitting in a kind of approximation of what they were in the nice photo.
Yes.
But the way Glenn puts a torch on it, and he goes, "Oh," and they go, "What's up?" And he goes, "Nothing."
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about it later. They go to retrieve the album because they think that might have some of the answers. When they get there, satanic album bursts into flames. So the next option is we need to get a copy of the Bible because that's bound to have all the answers in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, could be right. Their main effort now is to try and seal this hole up and get rid of the demons. So Terry, in the process of trying to close the hole, the gate in the backyard, he's reciting from the Bible. So they retrieve the Bible, go down to the backyard, stand over the hole and start reciting. I think the two sisters that are staying around are hiding in a closet now or something. So they're away.
Yeah, they said, "We'll stay here," don't they? Yeah.
Yes. So it's just Terry, Glenn and Al who are in the backyard. Yeah. Terry's reciting from the Bible and he falls in. He falls down the hole.
Yeah, that bit's quite good. That bit was filmed, actually. So he's sort of bouncing off the sides of the hole and gets onto a ledge.
And then he's sat at the base of it and the demons start coming out. Because there's a combination of animated effects and there's going to be people in suits, isn't there? And it looks quite good.
They speed him up a bit as well to make him look littler, obviously, because they are full-size.
Yeah, like they're scuttling around. Yeah,
which makes him look a bit weirder and nastier, I suppose. But when he's getting out on one of his feet, they must have got a massive leg with a foot on it for these blokes or children or whatever they were in these suits to grab hold of. Because I couldn't, you know what I mean? I couldn't tell. Yeah. It wasn't superimposed afterwards, leg-shaped thing.
Yeah, they built some oversized things like big feet and legs and stuff, which it looked pretty good, I thought. He falls down the hole and he starts getting attacked by these little demons. And there is actually quite a bit of a tense scene where he's trying to climb up and Glenn and his sister are trying to reach down to grab him out and the demons are pulling on him. And they're already starting to try and bite him and grab him. They manage to pull him out and he finishes reciting from the Bible. I don't know, does it start burning or what does it close up?
So to just shut the Bible down the hole in the end, so it kind of gives up.
Well, when they climb out and then they lift the gate bit...
I think he just shuts the Bible in.
Does he? Yeah. Yeah, the hole's all sealed over again. And we may be forgiven for thinking that's the end of the film and the credits roll. But oh no. Hang on, the film's not finished. Hang on. It's not over yet. We're only an hour in. They find the Lee sisters hiding in the closet. Then some of the guys rock up as well for what they think might be a party. Glenn's sister Al sends them packing because she's not in the mood.
I couldn't see where the HP sauce has gone.
Monsters at him. Monster munched it, didn't it?
Demons like brown sauce. Hang on, the film's not finished, Tony. Just cool down.
Cool out.
Just cool out, Tony. But then the workman that we've heard about through the film...
Well, when you say through the film, mentioned once, and I missed it.
Well, yeah. But Terry and Glenn are there, and the workman bursts through the wall, grabs Terry and drags him back through the wall and the wall seals up. Glenn's banging on the wall trying to find him, he can't. And then Glenn wanders up the stairs and finds some symbols daubed on the wall. Al, his sister, is in her bedroom looking at the mirror and you can see the workman in the mirror kind of behind her.
Yeah.
And then he bursts through the mirror and he stumbles towards Al and Glenn. And this is the bit that you see a lot of if you look at trailers and if you look at...
GIFs. And it's because it's Ace, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the scene where the workman falls forward onto his face. As he hits the ground, he turns into lots of little demons scurrying around.
Yeah, he's obviously cut it. As soon as he hits the ground, they split into all these little monsters then start peeling off and chasing them.
Yeah.
It's very well done.
Yeah, but it looks really good. Glenn and Al escape out of the room And whilst Al holds the door with the demons trying to break through, Glenn runs off to try and find his dad's gun.
And that's where they meet the old mucker, Terry, who's now got... Well, I thought he'd got different teeth, but maybe it's just his normal teeth.
So he goes into the closet. He gets bitten on the hand by a rabid Terry.
Yeah.
What? And Alexandra runs down and she is forced to stab Terry in the eye with a Barbie doll. What do you think about that bit?
I thought that was a bit quite severe. That someone gets poked in the eye with a plastic Barbie doll leg.
I put it as the infamous Barbie in Terry's eye stabbing scene. Yeah. We're about an hour in now as well. Yeah, that's quite harsh as well. Yeah. The mini demons are back and they shut themselves in I put it in the slattered Halloween closet.
Yeah.
And they find the gun. Right. So this is my favourite scene in the film. The bit where they're in the closet and Carl Crane, who plays the workman, bursts out and Al shoots him in the eye with the gun, pops one of his eyes out, and he grabs Al by the
leg, doesn't you? And pulls her up.
And he's swinging her around, and then he throws Glenn out of the closet, and Glenn slides along the floor. And I thought that was the best bit.
Yeah, a bit Evil Deadish like.
Yeah, straight away I thought that was like Evil Dead. And then he disappears again with Al. So both Terry and Al have been stolen by the work.
Yeah, and I think Glenn mutters something in case we didn't cotton on that it's been 2 sacrifices now. So the big boss is coming.
Yes. The floor in the house gives way as well now to reveal a big hole.
That I thought was an amazing effect. I properly went, how the fuck did they do that?
The bit where it showed it from above as the floor was giving away and Glenn was running across the floor. Yeah, it looked really good.
I couldn't work out, you know what I mean? I couldn't see the join between the house and that.
I think they probably just collapsed the floor and they said to Stephen Dolphy, run across there, don't worry about it.
There's a big hole.
Sometimes it pays just to fucking destroy the house.
Anyway, Stephen Dorff Glenn is then climbing up the stairs as they're collapsing. So the whole house is falling to bits now because the gate's now appearing in the actual house.
Now all the mini demons are coming up out of the hole.
Yeah, I couldn't work this bit out at first because you just think, oh, they're there. Are they going to start running after him? And then they start jumping down, don't they, and getting
They're all very excited about the arrival of the mega demon. I mean, this is where it gets Ray Harryhausen very animated, isn't it? But it looks really good.
Yeah,
it's really, really good.
Yeah.
This is when the demon rises out of the hole and it kind of shows that it's shot from the side, which is quite good.
Fair enough.
See what I mean?
He's got a bit of a weird, goofy face, to be honest, the demon, but it still looks good in terms of the way they've animated it and that.
He's got 4 eyes.
He's got 4 arms as well.
It occurs to Glenn It occurs to Glenn that the solution to the problem may be his Thunderbolt rocket. I didn't really catch on why this was the...
So I did. Well, I think I did.
Go on then. You elaborate. Explain it to me.
He goes back to the cupboard or something, and there's a little letter from Al. Because you remember Al, because the dogs died, decides to buy him... She goes shopping and buys him...
Oh, no.
The rocket.
It's a present that's been wrapped and left under his bed, isn't it?
And it's been given with love, and it's got light. And that was a bit. So he just says love and light, Thunderbolt, which again goes back to the beginning with the Thunderbolt, which is light. I don't fucking know. Don't ask me.
So Glenn, armed only with his Thunderbolt rocket under his arm, the big demon actually grabs Glenn's hand at one point. He approaches him, grabs his hand.
Well, he touches his head as well, doesn't he? It's like he taps him on the head and goes, "You're right, mate."
The big demon grabs his hand, and then he seems to just get a bit disinterested with him and lets him go. Then when Glenn looks to find that his hand now has an eye in its palm, can't explain any of that at all. No. He's just got an eye looking out of his palm. Don't understand it, why that suddenly happened, but that's what happened.
Probably because it's been touched by the demon.
I'm sometimes quite thick with these films, so I thought the central bit about the whole film was the hole in the backyard, but now we've got a second hole that's in the house.
Yeah. Like I say, the logic, there's no logic. Like I say, it's more like Phantasm where it's utter bullshit. It's just got some ideas thrown together.
Okay, and that's fine. Just in case I've missed something, that's fine.
I don't think, well, again, I don't know.
The whole... Listen now as well, because we're all approaching the climax. The hole is now becoming more unstable in the backyard.
Oh yeah, it's spinning out into the atmosphere, isn't it?
Well, it appears to be like the base of a demonic tornado. Oh, and at that point, Glenn, in desperation, stabs his hand in the eye with a pencil.
Oh no, a bit of glass. He pulls a bit of glass out the window.
Yeah, Glenn, in desperation, stabs his hand with a glass. Oh yeah, and he grabs the jar that contains the moths that have been there since the beginning of the film.
And lobs him.
He throws it out the window to little or no effect.
And then stabbed his hand.
The whole world at this point is breaking apart, man. So really, this is so tense. How tense is it? Glenn manages to retrieve his Thunderbolt rocket.
I mean, there's no time for that. He should be. Oh yeah, no, sorry, I remember.
He searches. What I put here is his search for batteries to enable the launch controls is almost unbearably tense because he hasn't got any double A's, has he? Just when you need them, he hasn't got any double A's.
Yeah. Well, earlier on, he tries to use a match to get the rocket.
What a novice! What a plonker!
So yeah, he goes downstairs to try and get him again with this rocket, but with this proper controls this time. But he's got no AA batteries because it says batteries not included. Maybe a nod to Spielberg's didn't direct it. Other film that was absolute shit. Anyway, yeah, but it's a big label states battery not included. But then he looks at his torch, which is a light, and puts the batteries in the.
So he takes the batteries from the light. The big demon's reappeared, and he approaches Glenn, and Glenn fires the rocket into his chest. The resulting explosion throws Glenn out of the house, which I thought again was quite brilliant.
Yeah,
because he was sent somersaulting out the front of the house, which was great. And then for some reason there's fireworks. Didn't really understand that, but fireworks, that's fine. It's the end of the film,
and the demon death is quite good because he dies from inside because all lights coming out of him. I'm trying to think what's that like. There's all lights shooting out. Can't remember now the film where. I think I've remembered it. It might be Hellraiser where all lights start shooting.
I wasn't thinking of that.
Oh well, this probably happens in fucking loads of films, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
So the big demon kind of explodes because Glenn's shot the rocket into its chest. The resulting explosion ejects Glenn out of the house. Brilliant. Fireworks in the sky. The sky clears. Everybody's happy. Glenn wanders back into the house, dazed. Angus trots out, and then Terry and Al come out of the closet as well.
Oh, wow.
Everybody's okay. Everybody's happy. They didn't come out of the closet in that way. They just literally came out.
Yeah, and they all sit on the front step of the house, and it looks a bit trashed.
Doorstep, yes.
Does one of them say, "How we're going to explain this" or something?
Well, I think somebody says to Glenn, "Do you think they'll notice?" And he replies, "You twat."
Careful. I couldn't give a shit. So this is a bit I wasn't sure about, and I'm hoping you're going to tell me. But it cuts back to the dog getting a little trainer from where the hole used to be. Is that relevant? It
goes to the backyard and it shows the dog picking up a trainer by the hole where the gate was. And I thought there would be some sinister music or something to suggest gate 2, but there wasn't really.
But yeah, then it just pans up to the blue sky and that's it. Happy ending.
So that is the end of The Gate.
Yes, happy ending for a horror film for a change.
Let's review the film. Mark it out of 10. Not get to the point. Let's review the film.
I wrote down, this is what Stranger Things tries to be. This is what it tries to be in terms of replicating 80s kind of horror film. And again, you could say, well, yeah, but they've got better effects with CGI and all that now. But these ones are good enough, and I'm not sure they'd moan. You know what I mean? But they didn't replicate that kind of thing or the same kind of lighting, or you know what I mean? So I don't know. The whole idea is, I don't know why I'm talking so much about Stranger, but the idea is it's reminiscent of 80s films.
Yeah. films from the 80s do it a lot better.
But I enjoyed this more than I thought it was going to be, because I do incredibly vaguely remember watching it as a kid when I got it out of the video shop. But
Video still. Did we watch it when it, like, in 1987 when it came out?
Probably, yeah, because the trailer made it look amazing. I don't think we were that keen on it actually when it, or I wasn't. I don't think at the time, but yeah, I'm probably going to give it higher mark than I normally would, just because not the bloody writing of the dialogue, or it was a particularly good horror film, because really it borderline isn't really a horror film, but more because of the ideas and the execution of the bits in it were good. For 1987, where they had bugger all money for this little piddly film, I think they hold up all right now, and that's normally that wouldn't be the case at all. So I'm giving it. Oh, I wrote six. I've said 6.5 to 7, and I'm going to give it 7, which is quite high. I'm giving it more because it's got that old school Harryhausen effects and clever ideas in it, and also just going for it towards the end. You know, not mucking about, just throwing the kitchen sink at everything.
Yeah.
But, you know, if I'm rating it as a horror film, it's lower, but I'm just rating it as a film. And it's surprisingly good. I know some people don't like it, but get fucked.
Is there a reason why? I mean, I don't want to go into the detail. Is there a reason why they don't like it?
I think it's because of the lack of coherence in a plot, maybe, that it is a bit messy.
Christ almighty.
You'll go, mate. That's me done.
So 7. Okay, cool. 7. I think for me, I wasn't looking forward to this that much because I remembered it being a very much definitely not horror film. I don't know what age rating this is now. I would put it as a 12.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be PG-13
I would put it as a
or whatever.
12 or Yeah, I would have said it's probably that, because it felt like like I said, it felt like an episode of Goosebumps. There's the odd bit that's a bit gooey and not that nice, but generally it's just, for me, it felt like a bit of a kids' film. However, I actually quite enjoyed it. The first half of the film's, not great. I didn't
mind that. I quite like. Again, we'll go on about the bloody building up of tension.
I didn't get any tension at any time during the film, at any point, other than the one bit where they were in the closet with the workman. And that bit was my favourite bit. There was a bit of tension. There was no other tension in the film whatsoever for me. Anyway, however, I did enjoy it. I did when I watched it, and I thought there was bits that we've already picked out in the review when we talked about it. There was bits that I really enjoyed. I even didn't mind the banter between the kids and stuff like that, and it was really, really 80s. Like you said, it was one of the most 80s film I've watched in a long time. It was still good fun. And the storyline in bits didn't make sense, but in general, if you just think of it as those kids remove the tree, inadvertently open some kind of gateway, and the kids had an adventure and had to seal the gateway back up again and defeat this big demon. That's kind of it. Yeah. You're not looking into it too much. So yeah, I did enjoy it. Believe it or not, I'm also giving it a 7, because I think, as much as anything, I just think I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So it was a pleasant surprise. So 7 for me. Yeah, it was all right. Yeah,
it was all right. It's hard to say. I mean, even though we've given it quite an high mark, we're both going, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah.
It's not like where other ones we've absolutely gone crazy and we've gone 6.5, 7. It's a weird one. I think it's just because it's just an enjoyable sort of horror romp. And that's that, you bastards.
And it may well be one of his best films as well.
Yeah.
Dorf.
Yeah.
Dorf,
I thought you were about
no, well, I think it probably was definitely his best film, but it might be Stephen.
I got Stephen Dorff who's done Blade. Shoot your face.
I would have said this is better than that.
I like Blade.
He was in The Purge, I think, as well, Stephen Dorff.
I've never seen
I watched that quite recently.
Never seen any of The Purges.
Home Invasion. It's tense. It's bollocks.
Oh.
Yeah, well, no, it's all right, actually. It's all right.
Should we have stopped by now after we've done we were talking about
So that is The Gate. Thank you very much for listening. We're going to do the normal post-review ramble now. But no, definitely thank you for listening.
Yeah.
That's it for me. Thank you. Bye.
Right, see ya. I didn't want to say the usual, shall I? You know.